To In Focus now on Newsroom Africa Channel 405. Thanks for staying on. The ANC in the Western Cape has lodged a criminal charge against DA member and the City of Cape Town's Mayoral Committee for Safety and Security, JP Smith. The case of fraud emanates from reports that Smith falsified his qualifications by claiming to have completed his honors when he had not, and that Smith allegedly campaigned using false qualifications at the party's 2017 provincial Congress, where he was re-elected as DA provincial deputy chairperson. For more on this, I'm now joined by ANC member in the Western Cape Provincial Legislature, Cameron Darkmore. Cameron, good evening, and thank you very much for your time on In Focus today. I mean, when situations like this arise within individual political parties, when you have your banter there in the legislature, I'm sure the other side will tell you this is a DA matter and we are dealing with it internally. What does the ANC have to do with it?
We think that's an ingenious answer by the DA, because the racism within the DA, which we believe is at play with how JP Smith is being protected, and the divisions, the very deep divisions in the DA based on their own internal factions, has a huge impact on basic service deliveries, especially in the city of Cape Town. And that's why today, when we laid charges, the ANC leader of the opposition in the city, Xolani Sotashe, came with me. We went together. Because if you look at the state of Khayelitsha, the state of Bonteheuwel, the state of Mitchell's Plain, you will see that not only does the racism permeate in the way they treat black and white members of the DA, but it permeates right down to the way that a certain quality of service delivery happens in the leafy suburbs of Cape Town. And basically, there's a total neglect by the DA. And we believe that that's a form of structural racism, which comes from the very DNA of racism within the DA. So this is about the stability of Cape Town. And while these racial conflicts are going on in the DA, and while their factional battles continue, people in Cape Town and the Western Cape generally are suffering. So this is a matter that, and that's what the charge of fraud, if you look at the common law in regard to fraud, it's about an intentional misrepresentation, which has the potential or does cause damage. And it's clear that the city of Cape Town itself is damaged severely by this DA racism and treating black members in one way, white members in another, the factionalism. It's creating skewed service delivery in our city. And that is why we are very serious that now that we've laid the charge, we need the commercial crimes unit to appoint an investigating officer. And these are not simply claims. We have hard evidence about the fraud committed by DA's JP Smith.
Now, the MACO member of Safety and Security, JP Smith, says this is a clerical error made by the personal assistant in his bio. Do you buy that?
He's being very, as they say, economical with the truth. Because the issue here is that this so-called honors that he began happened in the 90s, right? Then in 2017, as you indicated, he actually used the CV in his campaign to become deputy chair. Nothing was ever done to correct that fraud, that misrepresentation. Then secondly, he was invited as a MACO member to speak at a conference of an organization called Music Exchange, a very well-established organization that does great work in Cape Town. JP Smith's sent the CV also purporting to have an honors in English from Stellenbosch. He was introduced, did nothing to correct that. That was in 2019. And no reasonable person could believe that that was a clerical error. He hears the CV, he sees the CV, he speaks, he does nothing to actually correct it.
Yeah. But he says his 2020 submission of the CV accurately reflects his tertiary qualification, which is just a BA degree, which he obtained at the Stellenbosch University. Do you have something contrary to that?
Yes, let's look at the facts. 2017, 2019, fraudulent misrepresentation. That is real, and that actually causes damage to the name of the city of Cape Town, which is linked to the criminal definition of fraud, where it causes harm or potential harm. So the fact that he's claiming now that he corrected it in the public domain, up until the media dug deeper and got hold of the story in 2021, he has never publicly acknowledged that his CV was fraudulent in both 2017 and 2019. But what's interesting is that because of this conflict within the DA, the people that are leaking this information are going to be leaking more information are from within the DA. And what this is got to do with is very basic. JP Smith supports Dan Plato to continue as mayor. Another cabal in the DA wants another candidate from the National Assembly to stand. And they try to persuade Dan Plato to come back to the provincial cabinet. JP Smith and others told Dan Plato, don't go anywhere. You stay where you are, because it's very clear to us that JP Smith is a manipulator. And what they want to do now, they want to move JP Smith to the National Assembly, bring Jordan Hill-Lewis right now, get rid of Dan Plato, make him the mayor, and then build his campaign as the mayoral candidate. But because they cannot resolve this, so the racism is very evident. We've got another mayor of Saldanha who up until today has claimed that he's got an MBA, but has never actually produced that MBA. Anton Bradell, the MEC from the DA, knows about this. The DA leadership knows about it, but he continues in office. And the issue is, what happened to Madikizela, Bonginkosi Madikizela, who was the MEC for transport? The Premier removed him, he resigned, and he resigned both as an MEC and MPL. But JP Smith and Marius Kun from Saldanha continue in their positions. And that's very clear. When Helen Zille did her tweets about colonialism, which caused huge damage to the DA, she remained in her position. She continued. So there's one set of rules for black DA members and another set of rules for white DA members. And people are beginning to see that. But this is actually impacting on service delivery to the working class and poor communities. They are resisting any land release programs. They are not following employment equity in our province for fair representation of people who previously been classified as colored and black and Indian. And this goes on. It goes on in municipalities. So the racism is the DNA of the DA. And with the leadership of Steenhuisen and Zille, it is simply becoming worse. And what's interesting is that we have it on reliable authority that when they did the investigation into Patricia de Lille, who they'd also targeted, the DA internal report, which John Steenhuisen was involved in, described JP Smith as toxic. And I wish Newsroom would actually ask John Steenhuisen, is that what he actually signed off on a report that describes JP Smith as toxic? So it's clear that they have this internal battle. There's double standards in regard to black and white members. And it's very clear to me that the DA is actually becoming a sinking ship. People within the DA are disillusioned on their policy around alcohol, where they allowing schools to sell alcohol in the midst of a serious damage that is caused in terms of gender-based violence, rape.
Talking of Helen Zille, because we're going to run out of time, here's what the online publications are quoting her on this matter, saying the matter of JP Smith has been referred to the Legal Commission for investigation. I have not seen the booklet as I was not active at the time due to my suspension. It is difficult for me to comment further. What do you make of that comment?
This is simply the DA. They've been saying that for 3 or 4 weeks. We are saying that if the DA disciplinary investigation, they're saying they're investigating all CVs, that must come to an end now. This has been for over a month. By Friday, we want the DA to make public their findings about Marius Kun, JP Smith, Xanthia Limburg, all the others in the administration as well. There's a huge amount of nepotism going on in terms of appointments, not following procedures. So they must finish that report. Zille can't just say they've sent it to the Legal Commission. She's been saying that for weeks now. We want that process to be completed. The ratepayers and residents of Cape Town deserve to know, and of the Western Cape.
Cameron Dugmore, appreciate your time. Thank you for joining us, ANC MPL in the Western Cape. When we continue next, we'll update you on what's making headlines here on In Focus on Newsroom Africa, Channel 405. Do stay with us.